Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We are back. We're back. It's Sunday. Hopefully you're tuning in on Sunday when the show goes live. We're back with our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Each weekend, I answer 6 of your questions on Saturday and on Sunday. So a dozen questions for the weekend. Yesterday's show was fantastic. So many great people wrote in, a lot of great questions. Hopefully you're able to tune in because we did answer a bunch of new ones as well. So that was episode 2115. So you can go to stephencabral.com/podcast or /2115. And today, if you'd like to read along with the questions, you can go to stephencabral.com/2116. All right, let's dive right in. The first question is from Jody. Jody's up first today. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I was hoping you could give some more information on sebaceous cysts, what they are, where do they come from, and what happens when they get infected. I've searched your podcast and don't believe I found you mentioned them before. I had one on my shoulder apparently for a while where it seemed to be a small bump. It became infected and painful, and my doctor put me on antibiotics. After a few weeks to a month, it was much better and actually disappeared. I have several now on my labia where they too became very irritated and painful. My OBGYN prescribed me a cream and did not make it any better, so eventually put me on antibiotics again. That helped a little bit, but not like it did with the outcome of the one on my shoulder. I have a cluster of them on both sides of my labia, and they still sometimes become irritated. My OBGYN did say I could have them cut out, but there seems to be very painful due to the fact where they're located. I would love to hear any thoughts or advice you have regarding this. Thanks so much for your time and for all you do. I really enjoy listening to your podcast every day. All right, Jody, happy to help. You're writing in on October 15th. We are at November 21st today. So we are, how many weeks? 5 weeks behind? 5 weeks behind. We caught up a week. That's fantastic. All right. So I'm happy to help. I know that it's 5 weeks into the future, but again, hopefully you still find this very helpful. So let's go to stephencabral.com/podcast, because I know for sure I've talked about sebaceous cysts before. So let's see if we can find it. We'll find it together. And then no matter what, I'm going to give you an answer, but let's see if we can find it, because I like to do in-depth shows on these Cabral house calls, like 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. And that's what I do. So then I can always refer back and I can say, okay, we answered that question and here it is. And then other people can search for that as well. But it seems I did not. It seems almost impossible that I would not have done a show so far on sebaceous cysts, but apparently I have not. So we're going to talk about sebaceous cysts today. Well, so for a lot of people, they have no idea why these grow on their body. I believe you said you had one on your shoulder or so, and now they're showing up more on the labia. Well, for anybody who's not as familiar, think of it as almost like it's not a boil, but it's a cyst. It's a growth on the body, but it's filled with liquid. So it's not a hard scar tissue based cyst. And a lot of people, there's a lot of different treatments for them. There's laser, there's incisions, like surgical. But the problem with surgical removal is that it doesn't get to the underlying root cause and it can leave scar tissue. So you just have to be careful with that one, right? Because it may leave scar tissue as well. And then there's some that they actually do like a puncture and they'll drain the actual cyst itself or take it right out in that way. That is certainly not something that I'm a fan of. Now, if you've tried all natural-based modalities, in the future, you might say, okay, that's something that we're going to have to do because it's been a year, we're not able to get rid of these, whatever it might be, right? You've done your absolute best. So Here's what I like to do though. I like to work on this internally as well as externally. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I do for sebaceous cysts. So the first thing I run, if I only run one lab, so think about only running one lab in the world. I run the bacteria and parasite stool test. And this is going to tell me the bacterial overgrowth inside of the gut, as well as it's not the best for candida, but certainly it does work for looking at yeast. And then it's going to look at H. pylori and it's going to look at parasites. I would love you to run the whole what's called gut bundle, which then also runs the candida, metabolic, and vitamins test, and the IgG food sensitivity test, especially if there's a lot of these elongated black lines. If you saw my previous case study on food sensitivities, I think that may remind you then of something called leaky gut or intestinal permeability, which is what you may have. And this bacteria from your body may actually be going into the bloodstream, and now there's bacteria there. So you get cysts. Other people might get acne. Other people might get like deep, why is the word not coming into my brain right now? Cystic acne. There we go. Some people might get psoriasis. And that's the way that it goes. So there's two main things that I look at it. I look at it like this. I'm looking at the gut and I'm looking at hormones. Those are the two main things. Does this person have elevated levels of a testosterone or estrogen hormone? So another lab that you may run, again, I would run the big five if possible, but if not, definitely the bacteria and parasite stool test first. And then certainly you could run that stress hormones, mood, and metabolism, which is going to look at those hormone levels as well. All right. Couple things that we do though. We work internally, we work externally. So again, first I have to state, no medical advice, right? No treatment plan, no medical treatment plans, and no cures provided. We're working on underlying root cause reasons. So let's say to yourself, I just can't afford to run these labs. I say, no problem. We are here to help everybody, regardless of whether you can run a lab or not. So we would begin with the CBO protocol plus the citracetyl drops. Now, again, I can't give you medical advice, but I'm just throwing this out there. It might be something to look at, right? I'm going to work on balancing other factors in the body. So I'll most likely be doing the daily foundational protocol level 2 or level 3 as well. A big thing that's going to help you potentially is proteolytic enzymes. That's part of the CBO protocol. That's called flora film because that's going to go in and eat up proteins inside the bloodstream that shouldn't be there. Phenomenal product. Okay, so we've got the daily foundation protocol. We've got the CBO protocol with the citracetyl drops. It's not going to do as much for parasites, not going to do as much for H. pylori. It will get them a little bit, but not as much. There are separate protocols for those. But we don't do those unless we test. Okay. The next thing I would do is I would work externally. So here's a few things that I've seen to be really effective. The first one I've seen is castor oil application. So they're called castor oil packs. Basically, you're soaking a piece of flannel in castor oil, and then you're putting just plastic on top. Remember, the flannel goes against your body, piece of plastic on top, and then a heating pad on top. And that's just so that castor oil doesn't soak into the heating pad. What this does is it helps get that castor oil right into the skin where that sebaceous gland is. The heat also helps to potentially break that up. So I've seen that actually be quite effective. You can go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in castor oil pack. It's from like 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4. But again, these things don't change. They've been around for hundreds of years. So that is one of the recommendations. And then what do I recommend applying to it after once or twice a day? A little bit of apple cider vinegar, and that's going to be more of a toner. Let that dry, and then apply coconut oil. So the internal and the external, I've seen them work great. I hope it works for you. There are other things you can try, but those are certainly a couple of the best. Lugol's iodine, some people use on top. That's very, very powerful. These are just meant to be done for a couple weeks at a time for the external. So anti-inflammatory diet, follow the sensitive gut guide that comes with the CBO. I know that was a long answer, but now I can refer back to sebaceous cysts. Here we go. Here's the answer. All right. Hopefully, Jody, that was helpful. Angie's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I recently overcame H. pylori and I'm working on my digestion. I'm doing your parasite protocol, started taking your DNS powder, and will do the CBO protocol soon. When I took the DNS, it resulted in pain under my rib cage, so I lowered my dosage to a half a scoop, which helped. My question is, how do I heal dysfunctional gallbladder so I don't have to get it removed? I have low stomach acid and gastritis. What are your recommendations to heal those? All right. So Angie, again, I can't provide medical advice, but I've also answered all of these questions on the podcast, like literally every single one. I'm, of course, happy to give you a high-level look at this, but I really need you to go deeper. So either work with one of our integrative health coaches or integrative health practitioners or equal life coaches, run a lab. You just want the exact protocol for you, because here's the thing. You want to do it once and then you want to be done. So, because there's so many pieces to this. One of the ways that we get the gallbladder and liver producing bile and softening that bile to a greater degree is through a functional medicine detox, but it's also through improving stomach acid. A lot of people don't realize that low stomach acid then often leads to low production of bile, because low stomach acid makes a low pH in the stomach and with the food. And when that enters into what's called the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine, that acid nature to that chyme or chyme, however he likes to pronounce it, actually forces the liver to drop some of that bile in the duodenum to meet that low pH, because bile is actually a high pH. So the two meet, it neutralizes the acid, and it actually breaks apart the fats. That is such a big part of this equation. So we got to get that stomach acid working. I've got podcasts on how to improve stomach acid. So check out that podcast. And you can go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. Definitely start slower like you're doing. Again, I can't tell you to do the CBO protocol with citracidal, but certainly, you may look at that for sure. What do we do to rebalance underlying root causes of mastic gum? Of H. pylori? We use mastic gum. We do 2 capsules a day on an empty stomach, typically 1 in the morning upon waking and 1 before bed. So, but you're on the right path. You really are. You're on the right path. We have something called a liver cleanse, which is different than a functional medicine detox. And you can check that out on the podcast as well. It's not mine. Dates back thousands of years in Ayurvedic medicine, and you can check it out. All right, Kirsten is up next. I'm on day 1 of the 7-day detox. Regarding days 3 through 7, vegan, paleo meals, what are your thoughts regarding including gluten-free grains like quinoa, rice, oats? What about raw nuts, walnuts, almonds, cashews? Lastly, what about seeds? I've been going through everything and thought it said no grains, and the program itself is nut-free. I'm presuming because the allergen potential, but I can't find specific discussion on these. Thank you. Okay, yeah, happy to help. So, what we're doing during the functional medicine detox is just removing anything that has allergen potential beyond even just a food sensitivity. So allergen potential would be like higher histamine foods, higher lectin foods, gluten-based, even if there's only a little bit of gluten in there with those. So those are the main things, right? And so that's what we do. And so we make it easier for digestion on the system, because nuts and seeds are harder to digest. They can be great for you, but just a little harder to digest. Grains can be a little inflammatory for certain individuals, so we just remove them. It's only 7 days, and we don't do actually any big starches unless the person's looking to not lose weight. And then they can add in sweet potatoes, yams, things like that. And then they can also add in a little bit of berries and fruit with their smoothie if needed to not lose weight. But again, the goal is detoxification and helping to rebalance the body on all sorts of levels, like hormonal, blood sugar, inflammation, etc. And even if you lose a few pounds, like I typically lose like 3.5 pounds on it. I'm already at my goal weight. I don't want to lose the weight. I don't necessarily need to lose the weight. But the thing is, it's not difficult to gain back the 3.5 pounds afterwards if I choose to. A lot of people do the functional medicine detox by Equal Life because they want to lose 5, 10, 15 plus pounds. And so they use it as a kickstart to their weight loss program. They lose the weight and they can keep the weight off by doing the maintenance-based program that we recommend as well. And then go on to lose more weight if they want. All right. So hopefully that was helpful, Kirsten. And again, if you want same-day answers, you can also ask at cabralsupportgroup.com, because just, as it says on the Ask Cabral page, it's going to be about 6 weeks, sometimes just a wee bit longer for me to answer. All right. Hi, Dr. Ball. I've developed a word I can't pronounce on my eye, and I wonder if there's anything I can do to make it stop growing or go away. I'm terrified of the thought of surgery down the road. Also, why would it have developed in the first place? Thank you. And let me just see if I should read the person's name or not, because, yes, they wrote it in, Nick. All right, so this one's from Nick. This is... again, I have no idea how to spell this word. It's Pterygium. It is something that I'm familiar with, but this is just not a word that I've ever heard before, only seen seen written. So basically, it's a growth in the conjunctiva. So the conjunctiva is the little pink thing, the little bubble in the inside corner of your eye. So what happens is that can actually start to grow and grow into the white part of the eye itself, which is called the sclera, and it can extend all the way up basically to your cornea. So the issue is it's non-cancerous, doesn't seem to be a big issue, and unsure why it begins to grow in the first place. So there's no one explanation. A lot of times it's often said to be almost like scar tissue. So someone got a irritation inside the eye and this tissue began to overgrow, almost like it was protecting itself. So here's the thing though, I have not seen this too often in my practice. There are eye surgeons that are able to remove it if needed before it starts to grow too big. I don't know what that would do in terms of eye health in the long run, but I'm sure with a good surgeon, it wouldn't be too big of an issue. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but I do not accept that in many people, they have seen it clear up on their own over a period of months or maybe a year or so. And it just goes back to normal. So again, what it meant, why it happened wasn't over-exaggeration due to some type of injury to the eye, something you got in the eye, a finger poke to the eye during sports, outside, hiking, a little bit of sand or dirt in the eye. Could this have happened? Maybe. Again, we don't really know. What would I do though if it was me? This is not a protocol. I've never had it happen to me. I actually have never worked on it inside of my particular practice, but I know of it. I would be doing eye rinses for sure. I would most likely be using not a lot, but some colloidal silver, maybe for a period of 2 to 3 weeks, a couple sprays to the inside of the eye. I would do the Sovereign Silver pharmaceutical grade water brand. And that's what I would do. That's where I would start. Of course, I would make sure that my insides were healthy as well. But I wish I could provide you more information. It's just that's not something that's my forte, and I always let you know when it's not. All right, next up is Stacy. Stacy says, I binge listened to your podcast this week. Carb cycling is a lot of interest to me. I tend to work out daily, so I keep my carbs at a higher end. Is that impacting my weight loss? I'd love to know, how can you be doing too much? I walk 10,000 steps a day and do a 40 to 50 minute workout each day. Thanks. All right, Stacy, it sounds like you're doing great. This is an impossible question for me to answer, right? Because I have no idea how many carbs you're eating per day. If you're eating 200 carbs per day right now, I would say, well, we're going to lower that in order to lose weight. But if you're only eating 50 carbs a day right now, 50 grams of carbs a day right now, well, no, then I wouldn't lower it. If you're eating 100, would I go lower? Maybe to 75, maybe. And if you're doing 150, could you go down to 100? You probably could, but you're very active. And so I want to make sure that you're getting the right micro and macronutrients per day. And if you're at a weight loss plateau, my highest recommendation is to run something like the Big 5 Labs, StephenCabral.com/Big5 and the number 5, or at least maybe the starter kit, or even just the stress hormones test, right? Stress hormone, mood, and metabolism that will look at your thyroid, cortisol, it would look at estrogen dominance, blood sugar, so much more. So that's what I would do. And then if you didn't want to run any labs and you wanted to keep eating the same in the carbs that you are right now, you might just implement then the Fatlocity program, which we have thousands of people all over the world using. And that's just StephenCabral.com/Fatlocity, FATLOSSITY. It's a whole weight loss system based on science, no hype, no fads, and it can be implemented with any type of workout program. Okay. So I wish I could be more helpful. I didn't have the exact data points I need, but I think I gave you probably the answer that will hopefully help. All right, last question today is from Ryan. Ryan says, hello, I have a question regarding a friend with Klinefelter syndrome and osteopenia. If you were to take lab tests out of the equation, these two conditions, I'm sure, immediately bring to mind some interventions and practices you would like to prioritize to improve health and balance in the body. I was wondering if you had some ground level go-to advice on the presence of these two conditions. Much appreciated. Okay. Well, I'm happy to help with that, and no problem not doing labs. Again, the labs will tell you what is wrong, right? So I just want to state this, that people can have different outcomes based on imbalances in the body. Some people might get osteopenia. Some people might end up with like migraines or headaches. Like there's just different things that manifest from the same underlying imbalances. But Klinefelter's syndrome is a little bit different, right? This is a innate, meaning you're born with it, where boys are obviously at risk for this. And what we need to do is support their overall testosterone levels, typically. They may have fertility issues when it comes time to conceive. They often have lower levels of muscle mass, which can lead to more body fat gain. It can lead to some gynecomastia, which is enlargement of the breast tissue on males. So these are all things that we work on. And then when you're talking about osteopenia, well, there is a relation between the two, because if you have less muscle mass, you're most likely putting less tensile strength on the bones themselves. So it's going to lead to more breakdown of osteopenia. So what I would work on right away is the nutrients needed for bone growth, which I just did a show on. So I'm trying to look that up for you right now on the cofactors for vitamin D, which all help with bone growth. Let's see if I can find that right here at stevencabral.com/podcasts, literally just a week or two ago. Let's find that for you so we can give you your full answer for the day. 1 second here. Let's look. I didn't find it on my sheet. Cofactors for, there it is. 2083. So if you go to stevencabral.com/2083, it will tell you the items needed for strong bones, such as the calcium, magnesium, vitamin K, your vitamin D3, making sure you're getting about half your body weight in protein each day, all these different things to help build up your muscle mass. Of course, resistance-based exercise 3 times a week will be part of that. Your daily foundational protocol will cover most of those things. So that is what I recommend. And Ryan, hopefully that was helpful. Again, at a baseline, you're able to run your stress hormones, mood and metabolism test if you just do one lab to look at testosterone levels. And of course, in this type of situation, you'll most likely use conventional medicine if it's a fertility-based issue. If you're not able to do it because of this particular syndrome, as well as natural health. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, who tuned in today. I appreciate you. Of course, feel free to share this information with anyone you believe it could serve. And I'll be back tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I appreciate you. I truly do. So thank you so much. And as a valued listener of the show, I want to let you know about our Zelderberry Immuno Lozenges giveaway. This is a product that not enough people know about. So I literally told the Equalife team, I said, listen, I want to be able to share this product with more people so they know about the big benefits of Zelderberry. Zelderberry is a specific trademark product that we've created that provides the clinical benefits of elderberry extract. If you've never heard about elderberry, this is something that has now been used successfully in clinical trials to actually destroy and kill viruses by stopping that viral-based replication. And one of the perfect pairings with elderberry is zinc. Zinc is also now clinically proven to help stop viral-based replication. And for the common cold, zinc helps your body recover typically 1 to 2 or more days faster than you would without that extra zinc-based support. So that's why I love being able to provide you with the best of functional medicine, of course, mixed with ancient wisdom of Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine herbs. So if you've never heard of our Zelderberry products, we have a product called Zelderberry Max that you can literally take 3 times or more per day at the onset of a cold or virus, and you can use that for a week to boost the immune system. But Zelderberry lozenges is 25 milligrams of zinc, 100 milligrams of elderberry. You could take one of these a day to get your extra zinc in, or simply keep a bottle around, which is what I do, for that little dryness, scratchiness in the back of your throat, or maybe you're traveling on a plane, you're around a lot of people at a conference, and this is a great thing to use for that 3 to 5 days that you may need it. Now, for a cold, you might end up taking it for a week or two to get that 25 milligrams extra per day of zinc, as well as that elderberry extract. Again, both clinically proven. It's an amazing product. And you can check it out right now over at stevencabral.com/Equalife. And believe it or not, we are actually giving away free bottles right now. We have 500 bottles available. They are completely free for the first 500 orders, qualifying orders right now over at Equalife. Find out all the details at stevencabral.com/Equalife, and you can check out both of our elderberry-based products. Take care, everyone.